Boom! Welcome back to the channel. It's Wednesday. That means it's time for another midweek market update, and that also means that you're halfway through the week. So hopefully you are out there just doing awesome stuff. So let's get into it. Sit back, relax, and welcome to PokeMarketLab. All right, folks, let's get into it. Scarlet and Violet base is what we're looking at first. $177 market price. Up 57%. This is still climbing. In the last few months here, some great sell volume here in the last couple of weeks, selling quite heavily. I think people, I think there's probably some modicum of FOMO setting in here on this set as it races towards 2 years old. So March, the end of March, I believe, will be the 2-year mark on this. So this is, I think the market also thinks this is safe from reprints at this point. I would tend to agree with that, given, again, how many other freaking things in Scarlet and Violet need attention that are much younger than this. So I do tend to agree this is getting to the point of being safe. Again, I think it's a little expensive for the set. It's an okay set. We do have some price action. If you've been living under a rock, Drowsy here. From this set is doing really, really quite well, up 352% in the last few months, sitting at a $65 price. And again, I think, as with any box that's approaching $200, there's not going to be a lot of cracking of those boxes to put singles into the market. So I think, all these illustration rares and everything, all these cards that are getting old at this point are going to continue to rise as people, kind of think it seems targeted in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's just the market sees any kind of traction. I'm not on board with the market manipulation thing or anything like that. There's far too many inefficiencies in the market from a fee standpoint to make that worthwhile. But I think what happens is the market gets a little bit of traction on something. People start seeing a little bit of traction, some price increase, some volume increase. And I think the market, just the masses kind of move on that. And that's what's happening here. This is a really cool card. I've said this before in Scarlet and Violet. The way they did the scans on the images in this set just really did not do it justice here. So if we go and we look at, so we'll pull up a couple cards here just so you can see what I'm talking about. The scans, they're like literally scans of the card instead of digital artwork, and it really doesn't do it justice. So some good cards in the set. Drowsy's a cool card, and we're going to start to see the overall Scarlet and Violet's definitely getting a pickup from a single standpoint, which is going to bring the value of that set up. On to Journey Together. Surprisingly, I need to do a separate video on this. Surprisingly, doing quite well from a price standpoint. So really holding up, sitting at $220 for pre-order pricing. Right now, really good sales volume with some days in the last month. Yeah, we're selling over 100 boxes a day pre-sale. So my feelings on this set. I think it's okay. I think it's right there with maybe a Stellar Crown, somewhere between a Stellar Crown and a Twilight Masquerade, I think, for me. But I know it's the type of set that the market is going to like. I don't think it's just not a set that I'm backing the truck up, so to speak, on. I have, I think, four booster boxes on order, and that's probably enough for me on this set. So again, the question to yourself, do you chase this $220 price point? I think that's rich for anyone in this market. I don't think the set's strong enough for me to warrant that kind of price, but the market is just doing, there's a lot of people that are just throwing money at the wall, hoping it's going to stick. And assuming that everything is going to continue to go up. To me, the upside potential on a Journey Together booster box at 220 is not, I don't think it's high. I don't think there's a lot more room to, I could be completely wrong on this, which is why I always get a little bit of every set, regardless of whether I like it or not. I want some exposure to every set because there's certain things, we have blind spots, right, that we can't see. My blind spot may be, I don't like the cards, but the market absolutely loves them, right? And again, this in the short term, this kind of price action isn't necessarily a vote that the set is great, because again, there's a lot of folks out there that are just assuming everything's going to go up, so they're just buying boxes from an investment standpoint. And again, I just don't think, if I see Surging Sparks booster boxes at 250, which I think is probably undervalued, and this is close to that, that just doesn't make a ton of sense to me. But we'll see. So needless to say, very strong. Another strong one, Prismatic Evolution, sitting at a $132 market price here, with lowest listings. We got all these stupid, yeah, almost 140 on the lowest listings here. So, I see sales volume starting to dry up on that. Not dry up, but just waning, right? Which is natural after a set releases. What's interesting to me is to see the sales volume slow down, to still see over 3,000 boxes listed on TCG Player. Again, I think this is just proof positive yet again of how strong the market is. Again, when the demand side of things starts to wane, which is exactly what's happening with this volume, you would think the price would start to come down with it to some point, especially when this amount of supply is out there. And we're not seeing that. So, again, I think the market's just strong. There's no need for any of these sellers to fight over price. They're still moving boxes. At some point, I would expect that volume to drop, that sell volume to drop off enough where we would see some reduction in price. We just have not seen that yet. And again, maybe the market's strong enough that we don't have to. I would have thought there was a lot of scalpers here who are really hot to dump product quickly. Or maybe those scalpers are staying on Facebook Marketplace and so on and so forth. And this is all, pros who know you just got to wait it out. So again, this is a seller's market still for sure. All right, we're going on to Sword and Shield here. Just wanted to showcase some leveling off that's happening in Sword and Shield. I've seen some videos and seen some folks like, oh my God, Sword and Shield, it's coming down finally. It's not coming down. This is completely normal price action here. This is what happens when booster boxes get expensive. We've talked about this before. One of my very first videos on the channel is the bucket theory. The money goes into these really good products from Sword and Shield or Scarlet and Violet, and they get to a certain price point. This is, human psychology. And then people are like, yeah, I got some other products here. There's some other booster boxes that are cheaper. Maybe my money should be going in that, right? So that money kind of finds the lowest point. So this is just a temporary thing. These are going to level out. You can see here, we kind of have this action already that happened last year, right? In summertime when Scarlet and Violet was kind of pumping up, right? Same thing happened then. Everyone's like, oh crap, Scarlet and Violet's cheap. Let me put my money in Scarlet and Violet, right? So Sword and Shield leveled off. Didn't go down, just leveled off. The money found the lowest point, which was Scarlet and Violet. Scarlet and Violet's now elevated, and we'll get to the point where, again, we have base sets approaching 200. We have Twilight at 200. We have Paradox and Temporal going towards that price. We have boxes over 200. The money's going to flow back to Sword and Shield at some point. So, again, nothing to be concerned. If you're holding boxes from Sword and Shield, there's nothing to be concerned about. Same thing happening in Fusion Strike. This chart's weird. That's broken. Fusion Strike sitting at 460, and the other thing, these are getting harder to find. So we're still seeing boxes sell, much less volume given, again, that price, when you get to a certain price point, your buyers that's the other problem, right? When we get to a certain price point, your buyers start to drop off. The amount of people who are willing to pay that kind of price drop off for a number of reasons. They can't afford it, or again, there's other products where they're cheaper. Again, like even a Silver Tempest, like what's the upside potential, from a percentage standpoint on Silver Tempest versus Fusion Strike, which has, again, a little bit of a headwind when you get to this price point in terms of future growth. So again, this is a phenomenal product. This is, you can absolutely see this as $1,000 booster box within a few years. Lost Origin doing the same thing. You can see here, these pretty much, the most of the good sets from Sword and Shield kind of trade together. So you see this similar chart. If we could overlay this on top of Silver Tempest, you would see some similar overlap here. Again, you get this plateau, this drive up, and then we're in that plateau phase again. So, if you have money to deploy, these are expensive boxes. You are chasing something that's run up where maybe, we thought on Evolving Skies it was not going to push it. It would take longer than it did to hit 1,000, right? I remember myself at $300 a box for Evolving Skies saying, yeah, same thing. Most of that price action is behind it, right? Not in front of it. And I was wrong, right? Another $1,000 on top of that. So if they're really good sets, which Lost Origin is, which Fusion Strike is, if you appreciate these sets, if you like these sets, this could be an opportunity to pick up these boxes. Just know and be okay with, hey, there is a potential for this to drop off should the winds of the market change. Chilling Reign, same thing. Really strong, broke above $300. Same thing. We get that plateau run up, and we're in that plateau phase, which should continue for a little bit here. One thing I want to talk about, I talked about this previously. I want to mention again, if you do not have exposure to some of this Fusion Strike, some of this Sword and Shield product, and it's expensive for you because it is, we see a lot of people hitting the Elite Trainer boxes from this era. They're starting to get expensive, some of them getting really expensive. Obviously, Evolving Skies is an expensive one, Fusion Strike now. And you're going to continue to see this going forward here. So Fusion Strike ETBs from Sword and Shield, these are regular ETBs sitting at $124. Lost Origin sitting at $78. Chilling Reign sitting at $73. So this could be an opportunity if you want to get some exposure. Pick up these ETBs while you can. Again, this is an expensive ETB, but this era is dwindling in terms of supply. So pick it up while you can. If you this could be, if you don't want to spend $460 on a booster box, this is a great way to get some exposure. I've said this before about ETBs. I think from a very long standpoint, I'm talking 10 plus years, there will be much more people from a nostalgia standpoint that look back and remember opening the Elite Trainer box versus the booster box. We are the weirdos that go after the booster boxes. The dad and his two kids who always open, a little bit from a set, they're getting the ETBs. They're going to Target and picking one up, or a local game store. They're the ones, those kids, as they grow up, they're the ones that are going to want to go back to a piece of their childhood, and they're going to get an ETB, not a booster box. So again, just keep that in mind. So moving forward here, so Chilling Reign ETB is doing really, really well. I remember, again, not long ago, possibly a little over a year ago, maybe, where these were on Target constantly for $40 a pop. And there's only there's two versions, remember, for Chilling Reign here. We get Shadow Rider and Ice Rider. There's only 13 of these listed. This is the regular Elite Trainer box, and there's 13 of these listed on TCG Player. So again, if you want exposure to these, $73 is not cheap for an Elite Trainer box, but it's Chilling Reign. The booster box is $300. There's only 13 available on TCG Player. It's only a matter of time. I mean, there's no supply. I'm surprised this hasn't crossed. Actually, it is. So the market price is $73, but we just haven't quite seen people bite at that $100 price point. But the cheapest is $100. So, and again, we got that other version here, which is still around the $70 price point. So, I mean, that's actually not a bad deal right there. Astral Radiance, same thing. Look at the available quantities on these. They're really, Astral Radiance, not my favorite set. I would probably stick with this Four Horsemen of Fusion Strike, Lost Origin, Chilling Reign, and maybe even Evolving Skies. Those are getting expensive, but the per pack price on those ETBs isn't too bad. Again, if you want some exposure, this is a great, cheaper way to do it. They store extremely well. They will be remembered fondly. Brilliant Stars. This is absolutely a much cheaper way of getting into this is the bargain out of all of them. I would pick these up. These were heavily printed, but this is a solid set. Again, I remember within the last year seeing these at $40 at Target. So again, if you're running out of time on these. All right, 151 just continues to march up. There has been way more printing of 151 than people realize. Not in the products that we want them necessarily, but there has been a lot of influx of packs into the market. So 151 Ultra Premium Collection is doing very well. 30% return in the last few months. The volume extremely small, over 20 sold per day, or per every few days, I should say. So this is right at the $300 price point, and this is just going to continue to march up. I don't know how much longer they're going to influx 151 into the market. It's got a little bit of age on it. They are still printing bundles, which we're going to look at in a second here. We just got Blooming Waters. At some point, that spigot's going to get turned off, and this is just, 151 is going to go wild. It's expensive as it is. The market absolutely loves it. It's fond. People have fond memories of it still. It's beautiful to open. It's only a matter of time before it takes another leg up. 151 ETBs, Pokemon Center ETBs, closing at that $400 price point, just doing phenomenally well. Only 50 of these listed. If you have these, hold on to them. Hold on to them. I do see a future. Yes, this is crazy, but it will be $1,000 ETB at some point. It's got the Snorlax promo. It's 151. I'm telling you, when the packs stop, when the influx of packs stops for 151, it's going to go nuts. they literally the everything they've thrown at the market in terms of packs is just the market's gobbled it up. So don't, again, I don't know that I would chase this. This is a little rich for me in terms of purchasing now. But make sure you have some 151 exposure. The bundles. This is the way that they've been getting most packs to the market. Just unbelievable. Almost 16,000 of these sold in the last year alone, and it's still had a 95% increase in that year. So they've printed like everyone talk about, hey, we need a 151 reprint. They haven't touched the ETBs, the UPCs, any of that, more premium stuff, which I think is what they're considering it now. It's the untouchable stuff, right? Booster bundles, they have printed the bejesus out of, and the market's gobbled it up. There's been almost no price reduction here. It's just if you zoom out, this is a straight increase here from the last year, and this will not continue forever. So to me, this is what this is telling me is that when the spigot turns off for 151, it's going to go. We haven't seen nothing yet. Okay, it's just going to continue to go up. Blooming Waters, we've seen tons of. You've seen shopping carts full of them at Costco, right? And they're getting dumped they're getting dumped locally to Facebook Marketplace. They're getting dumped online here. It's a huge product. It's hard to ship, right? So I think a lot of that action, that arbitrage is happening locally. This is still this is over $10 price per pack price. There's only 12 packs, $142 box. This was, we saw pallets upon pallets of this stuff, and the market just ate it up. So again, when 151 influx to the market goes away, it's going to go bonkers. It's going to go nuts. All right. ETBs from Scarlet and Violet. Really surprising to see the price action and the volume on these. Obsidian Flames, just almost $100 a pop for a set that's less than 2 years old. That still maybe has a reprint risk. We really don't know. And the reason I say I really honestly don't think they're going to go back and reprint ETBs from some of these earlier sets. I think they have bigger fish to fry in terms of reprints, but just be careful. Picking up ETBs at $100 each for something that's less than 2 years old is a little risky. I think I've been picking up a couple of these at like $60 a pop on TikTok. I think that's a great price. Just be willing to accept that, your product may go down a bit if a reprint happens. This is just, it's a decent set. Obsidian Flames really is a decent set. There's some really good cards in it, but the promo on this one, I think the regular one sitting at over 20, closing on a 25, I think, is really, really helping boost this up. But it's not just Obsidian Flames. We're seeing Paldea Evolved sitting at a very healthy $70 market price. Again, drying up. I think the market as a whole, I think, is just thinking, hey, we're not going back for prints. Look, this is a price we just saw, like literally going back to Lost Origin, a product that is much, much older. I think it's a better set, in my opinion. So what is this? Is this a matter of, and has sold way more in the last year, by the way. So 2,500 Lost Origin ETBs sold in the last year. Let's go back to Paldea Evolved. Only 1,500 sold in the last year. I don't think they printed many of these. I don't think they printed a ton. That's pretty low sales volume for that price, and there's only 100 listed on TCG Player. That's interesting. All right, move on to Paradox Rift. We have 2 different boxes for Paradox. Same thing. Only less than 500 of these sold in the last year, but there's less than 300 online. So do we have a situation where these just were not printed, or maybe the ETBs from Sword and Shield were heavily printed if we're comparing them? Really interesting. Paradox Rift is absolutely a potential for a reprint at this point for ETBs. This may be a situation where maybe they go back and reprint the booster boxes like they did for Paldea, they did for Obsidian. Maybe they just go back and do the ETBs and they leave the booster boxes alone. It's much easier. They have much more production volume for ETBs, it seems. So just be careful chasing. This isn't expensive. It's a $60 box. However, if we get no more supply to market, these are going to march up. There's less than 100 of them listed on TCG Player. Paradox Rift is a great set. It's got a ton of really cool cheap cards. So it's a phenomenal set. You got 2 different boxes here, which I wish they wouldn't do, and the artwork on these is not fantastic, I would say. But again, it's very interesting to see. Again, 500 sold in the last year. Shrouded Fable sold more ETBs than Paradox. Specialty set, so maybe I shouldn't do a direct comparison there, but hated, and it sold way more. Scarlet and Violet base, 100 boxes listed on TCG Player. That 1 year is not correct on that, so we don't know exactly how many. Probably less than 500 in a year. And again, these are starting to climb a little bit. Scarlet and Violet ETBs, as that booster box starts to go up, $50, $55 for these might seem cheap pretty quickly. Just something to think about. Interesting here. It's very interesting. You see this price action, this increase in the last few months. Look at the increase in sell volume. People are just, again, at this point, FOMOing just before everything starts to run up again. So in the short term, if you're, a short, investor, 6 months to a year, could be some opportunity there. So market's still hot. I think depending on where you're looking, there may be a little fatigue for more of the expensive stuff. I think that's fair to say. I think there's definitely some fatigue on the expensive stuff. We're seeing what I think is a lot more action on the cheaper products like ETBs. Booster boxes are still going up. Just I think that rate is slowing down a bit. So that's it for our market update. Everything's really strong. Singles action. Singles are stronger than sealed right now. We'll see what happens as we continue to march forward in time. That's it for this week. Hope you liked the video. Hit us up in the comments below if you like what we're doing. And of course, like and subscribe if you really like what we're doing. And we'll see you on the next one. PokeMarketLab out.